My fellow shaman, the time has come. For what we have wanted for a very, very long time is finally here. The Earth Mother has heard our prayers, and she calls to us as the winds howl across Kalimdor, while the drums of war thunder once again, enticing us home. It is time to return to our roots, pick up our shields, and spank some Naga tail because Classic Plus has arrived. Season of Discovery has been announced, which is essentially Classic Plus, and it comes with a whole boatload of new builds and class/role/spec combinations. Some of you have been excited about the potential for Shaman tanks to actually be a real spec to play in this variation of the classic WoW client. With that excitement comes a lot of questions for the initial thoughts on builds and runes and talents and gear. So, I'm hoping to have a good grasp and loads of information readily available for you guys to soak up. Things are obviously subject to change over the course of this month and come November 30th with the launch of Season of Discovery. A lot of you were quick to add insight and great information in the comments on my last video, so as I promised, I am releasing new and up-to-date content when relevant with more guides. So sit tight, there's going to be quite a bit of information to go over in this part 2 guide, and if you have any thoughts or questions yourself, I encourage you to leave them in the comment section down below. Like the video if you like it, subscribe for more content, and hit that noti bell. Also, please consider supporting my content further on my Patreon page and Twitch livestream page, twitch.tv/Barokoshama. All the links to everything will be in the description of the video below, so without further ado, let's get into the guide. With the Season of Discovery initial level cap being 25, we are also very limited on which talents we are able to take. It is also unclear if certain talents will also affect rune abilities that replace other abilities or empower your core spells. Talents will likely be updated to improve upon or interact with your runed abilities where it makes sense. That being said, Shaman is pretty clear on what path you should take for level 25 and respec once you have access to higher levels and more talent points later on down. We will mainly be sticking to the elemental tree to pick up needed damage increases and mana conservation talents. In the enhancement tree, the best value at level 25 would be shield specialization, though I foresee tank shaman going into deep enhance come later level increases. Convection helps us a lot as Earthshock and Flameshock are likely to be some of our most casted spells, and having reduced mana cost on those spells will go a long way. Concussion obviously increases our damage, which in turn increases our threat generated. Elemental Focus gives us a chance to go into clear casting state, which makes our next damaging spell free to cast. Self-explanatory for that one. Shield Specialization interacted very well with the Shield Mastery rune, increasing your chance to block and the block value, which directly affects our mana regeneration and maintaining the defensive stacks generated from that rune. In this section, we're going to cover the spells and abilities you will mainly be using on your Shaman tank, with the presumption that you've already watched my previous video on covering the runes and the new abilities that we got. If not, I'll leave a card in the top right of the screen here for your reference and go back. Molten Blast is going to be our main threat generator in group pulls or multi-target scenarios. It has a high threat generation associated with the spell while also doing damage to all enemies in a cone in front of you, so using it on cooldown will be highly recommended. That being said, you will maintain as many flame shocks as possible on multiple targets to get the most out of this ability and its potential resets. Before the pull, make sure you have 3 stacks of Lightning Shield active, and since we do not yet have Chain Lightning at level 25, you will want to pull 1 mob with a max rank Lightning Bolt. Flame Shock another target, and as soon as mobs are coming into range, cast Molten Blast. Earthshock can be used on an additional target that you have less threat on, but it may not be necessary to cast right away. Watch your threat and use it where necessary. You can also use Stoneclaw Totem rank 2 immediately as you establish threat on all your targets. This will help them stay grouped long enough to get multiple casts of Molten Blast. You may have to use 2 to 3 Molten Blasts before it is safe for your party to use their more potent damaging spells. Stoneskin Totem will be your primary Earth Totem unless you find yourself up against more casters than melee mobs, in which case you'll probably want to use Strength of Earth Totem. If mana isn't an issue here, you'll want to use Fire Nova Totem since it does a high amount of burst damage. Just be careful using it since it has its own threat table and can easily be killed by mobs before it detonates. If you get clear casting procs from your elemental focus, try to use them on Molten Blast and AoE and Lightning Bolt in single target scenarios. If threat isn't an issue, you will want to use Earthshock to interrupt as many casts as possible so you and your group are in less danger. Speaking of single target, it may be beneficial in some single target fights to actually use the dual wield spec rune for the extra 5% hit on spells and attacks, and put Flame Tongue on your offhand weapon while also using the Lava Lash rune on your gloves. You will likely be able to do a lot more damage with this setup if the defensive bonuses from using and running a shield are not needed for the fight. Keep in mind that you will still use the Way of Earth rune and Rockbiter weapon in your main hand for this situation. In this video, I wanted to take a closer look at how stats weigh in importance at level 25, and how they will affect your character. I made mistakes in my last video overvaluing stats like strength and intellect, so we'll be providing information on stats in order of importance that's a lot more accurate. At level 25, your most valued stat is going to be stamina, as it gives you increased HP, which makes your armor have more value against physical attacks, and having a larger health pool will increase your survivability against spells. As a Tauren Shaman, you will gain 10.5 points of HP instead of the standard 10 points other races get, making Tauren the go-to race for Shaman tank in Season of Discovery. Agility should also be considered a close second, specifically against physical attacks, as by increasing your dodge rating by 1% for every 20 points in agility, and you gain 2 armor for every 1 point in agility as well. It also has some crit benefits, but it takes 20 points in agility just to gain 1% increased crit chance. Strength increases your attack power and block value, but not block chance. And 1 strength point is equal to 2 attack power, but it takes 14 attack power or 7 strength to increase your melee DPS by 1. This will scale better the later phases in SOD once we dabble in deep enhanced builds. The increased block value is good, but not more valuable than pure stamina, as it takes 20 strength points just to get an additional block value point. Intellect increases your mana pool size and the chance to score a critical strike with your spells, though it only gives 15 mana per point, and you will need a total of 59.5 points to increase your spell crit by just 1%. So at low levels, this is at least important. You will be getting the majority of your mana regeneration from buffs, potions, and talents, so mana shouldn't be an issue realistically. Now that we've covered stats a lot more, there are some great items you can get early on as your pre-raid Black Fathom Beast 10-man BIS gear. Some of them will be from professions, and I'll mention world drops and BOEs, but also their questing equivalents if you cannot obtain the ones that are dropping from the world. There are also going to be new rewards from Warsong Gulch and other battlegrounds, so stay tuned for those items. The Wolfclaw gloves drop from Trash Mobs and RFK. It is a 0.1% drop rating, so it's highly unlikely that you're going to obtain these, even though they were in the BlizzCon demo for Season of Discovery. Not to mention that Razorfang Crawl is a level 32 to 42 dungeon, so getting in there at level 25 is going to be hard. The Brawler's gloves are much easier to obtain in the open world and offer a good amount of stamina and strength, but the Emblazing gloves are definitely going to be the easiest to get. The Deviate Scale belt from Leatherworking will be the best choice, or you can opt into the Beast Master's girdle from the quest Isha Awak, which is a long chain starting in the Barrens, starting at Sargara Darkthorn, which I'm sure a lot of you have already done this quest, the Planestrider Menace. Leggings of the Fang are definitely going to be the easiest high-value legs to get, but realistically, the best ones will be Trollbane leggings. If they are even acquirable in the open world, they're going to be bound to be extremely expensive, so if you can't get those, settle for the Fangs. If Norbregon is going to be available in Phase 1 of SOD, you will definitely want to be doing the quest Rig Wars to obtain the Trip Runner Dungeries, but it's highly unlikely that Norbregon is going to be available at first launch. The Warsong boots are going to be your best option, and they are a quest reward in Ashen Vale. This is going to be a highly contested area, so you'll definitely want to group up to complete this quest. Seal of Sylvanas is an amazing low-level ring that you'll get from questing in Silverpine Forest and delving into the Shadowfang Keep dungeon. Since you're going to be in there anyway to get a lot more great items, it's important to pick up this ring, so while you're there, also try and get the Silver Lanes family ring. Umbert's helm drops from the elite Dungorok rifleman mobs. Jeez, I said that weird. In the Hillsbrad foothills, so you'll need a strong group to farm this helm, but if you can't get it, consider going engineering and picking up the green tinted goggles, or farm fishing and try and get the lucky fishing hat. For shoulders, an easy one to get is the earthen leather shoulders from Leatherworking. They are BOE, so you can get them from the auction house as well. And for your neck, we'll likely have a reward from PvP, so for now, I have left this slot empty. The Sentry Cloak is going to be your pre-raid BIS cloak, but it's a world drop, so if you can't get it, go and grab the Cape of Brotherhood from the Dead Mines. For chests, pick up the Black and Defaced armor from Edward Van Cleef in the Dead Mines, or you can also opt into doing the quest alternative from the quest Wanted Arnak Grim Totem in the Thousand Needles to get Brawnhide armor. For bracers, you can easily pick up the wolf bracers from multiple vendors or the auction house. You can also try and get the glowing leather bracers, which drop from skeletal water mobs in Duskwood. The Windstorm Hammer is a quest drop from a high level quest chain that can be done at 25. It's in the Thousand Needles called the Final Passage. If you cannot find a good group to do this quest, a good alternative is obviously going to be the Butcher's Cleaver from Shadowfang Keep. For shields, the best option will be the Commander's Crest from Shadowfang Keep, as it provides the most armor and highest block. The Clink Shield is a great alternative quest reward from an elite quest Irakara, starting in Thunderbluff from Magatha Grim Totem. As Season of Mastery launches on November 30th, we will revisit available gear from the raid and PvP rewards, and I'll release another video going over your true best in slot list at level 25 for the first phase of SOD. As mentioned before, everything is subject to change, but I wanted to share some early insight on Shaman tanking going into Season of Discovery. If things do change, like I said, I promise to revise the information and present new material that is current and up to date. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment down below on what your thoughts are going into Classic Plus. Please subscribe and consider supporting my content on Patreon and twitch.tv/Barokoshama. I'll be leaving all the links to everything for you guys in the description of the video. For now, farewell, and until next time, keep calm and Maelstrom on.